Katie McCament first learned about co-housing while studying architecture in Denmark. Inspired by the environmental and social sustainability that the housing model creates, she co-authored the book that introduced co-housing to the United States. She has been designing and developing co-housing communities ever since.
Your typical co-housing community starts by somebody has heard about this concept somewhere and it's like, wow, I'd really like to live in a neighborhood like that. And then they look around and there's nothing there in their region that they can buy into. So they start talking to friends. And out of that, you start to get some people interested in how do we actually create a neighborhood like this? Most communities don't start with 30 families. They start with 3 or 6. And that's who usually is the core group that gets the land under contract and gets the project off the ground. And then they're looking for other people who want to buy into that type of neighborhood and grow the community as they are moving themselves through the development process. There are now over 200 co-housing communities across North America. Some are rural, some are very urban. Probably most of them are in the suburban areas where most housing is built. But I think that's what's really exciting about the co-housing concept is you can adapt it to these very different situations. It may seem overwhelming, this idea that you could go out and start a neighborhood when you're not an architect or a developer. But here we've got 200 communities out there that were started just like that, where people started talking to other people and pooled talents, brought together a team to support them, and actually built a neighborhood that was more connected, uses a lot less water, a lot less resources. It's actually something you can do. Once you have land, you have a timeline and everything flips into high gear. Over the last 35 years of doing this work, we've actually learned a lot. We've learned a lot of best practices about how do you work in a collaborative real estate development world. What's the most important things for the consumers, the buyers group, the co-housers to do? How do they work with professionals, with professional developers, with architects, with banks? How do you structure the financing to get these projects built? How do you set it up so people can get competitive mortgages? So there's actually a lot of background now. We're not starting from scratch anymore. For someone who wants to explore co-housing today, there's actually a lot of resources across the country. There's our books, there's trainings, and there's the Co-Housing Association, which has a fabulous website. On that website, there's a directory of communities all across the country. So you can see what's available in your region. A lot of them give tours. You can go talk to people. You know, I'm a real believer that seeing is believing, so nothing like visiting an existing co-housing community to see what it's about and talk to people who live there. That's a great way to explore if this might be an option for you. The Co-Housing Association puts on regular conferences. That's been one of the places where we've really been able to share best practices, where people can network with each other, both people who are informing groups, just getting projects off the ground, as well as those who've lived in co-housing for the last 20 years. So that has really been seminal in bringing together all the lessons learned and helping people plug in to what's available out there already. So that's really my goal with co-housing, is to make it easier for people to connect with their neighbors and to make that available for people of all ages and all incomes. Millennials grew up in a really isolated world of social media, latchkey kids, and I think an increasing number of them are saying, that's not the way I want to raise my kids. How do we create something different? We're seeing a lot of new interest from singles, from young families, and from boomers who are looking to an alternative option as they get older and they want to really set themselves up for successful aging. And one of the really interesting things I've seen is how well these communities hold their value. In fact, I had a commercial appraiser did a study in 2010 where he looked at 5 existing co-housing communities. So this was after the recession and the housing bust. And what we saw was that co-housing tracked along with other types of housing in their neighborhoods over time. But during the soft market, during the downturns, it actually held its value much better than more traditional housing in the surrounding neighborhoods. Consumers have a lot more power than they realize. The thing that really gets me excited about co-housing is that it provides a model of how to live the good life, a really good life, while not using as much of the Earth's resources.
Massive wildfire exploded early Thursday morning, burning nearly 25,000 acres.
The fire has forced new evacuations this morning.
The fire moved up a ridgeline and then caught the Santa Ana winds perfectly.
In the summer of 2008, nearly 2,000 lightning-sparked wildfires scorched over 1 million acres across California, destroying hundreds of structures and impacting the lives in the surrounding communities forever.
I never thought it was going to happen to me. You know, you always figure it's the other guy that's going to get their house burned.
And with California's Mediterranean climate, another fire siege of that magnitude is just a matter of time. I'm CAL FIRE's Daniel Berlant. Devastating wildfires occur every year across the state, putting lives, property, and the state's natural resources at a constant threat. In California, wildfires aren't a question of if, but only a question of when. If you choose to live near a natural area of the state, you are at risk for wildfires, and it's your responsibility to prepare yourself, your family, and your home. And that preparation starts with 3 simple steps. Ready, set, go. Getting ready before wildfire happens is a vital first step in protecting yourself and your property. Beginning in the spring months, well before the peak of fire season, you should carefully assess your property and start taking steps to prepare for the hotter months to come.
As firefighters are responding to fires throughout California, one of the most important things they can look for is defensible space.
Defensible space is the required 100 feet between your property and the surrounding wildland area. Defensible space has consistently been shown to be the best, most practical first line of defense for your home against wildfires. Adequate defensible space provides a barrier to slow, or in some cases even halt, the progress of fire that would otherwise engulf your property. It also helps ensure the safety of firefighters while they defend your home.
I'm going to have to go to homes that provide some type of clearance for my firefighters. I cannot go to a home that has brush and everything growing right up to it. I've got to pick a home where I can safely make a stand, and if we get stuck there, that we can survive it as well.
When the destructive lightning siege fires burned throughout California in 2008, defensible space once again proved to be a key element around the homes that survived, while many homes without adequate clearance were not as fortunate. But defensible space isn't the only factor in protecting your property. Another critical step is hardening your home. During a wildfire, loose flying embers can find weak points on the outside of your home. Hardening your home means reinforcing these vulnerabilities. CAL FIRE Battalion Chief Nick Schuler demonstrates some of the components of a well-defended home.
As you see here, they have an excellent green belt around their home. All of their trees are limbed up, so there's no dead and dying vegetation around their home. And as you can see, as we walk along, all the leaf litter's been picked up, and we move straight into the fire-resistant construction. They have the stucco siding, they have the enclosed eaves, and the composite roof, all proactive steps that this homeowner's taken to reduce fire potential.
Now that you have your home ready for a wildfire, it's time to get set by preparing your most valuable assets, your life and the lives of your family. You should start by creating a wildfire action plan. A wildfire action plan gives you and your family a chance to plan out and write down important information and special preparations that you'll need to take as a wildfire approaches.
As part of your wildfire action plan, you want to sit down with your family and talk about things like escape routes, what roads are you going to take when you leave the house, and the other thing is where are you going to go. You want to have a meeting location.
Your family's plan will be unique depending on your circumstances, so it's vital that you practice and update it regularly to keep everybody prepared. It's also important to plan which belongings in your house you'll need to take with you in case of evacuation if you have time.
Prepare what you're going to take with you when you leave. There's nothing worse than packing up to leave and you realize you didn't take anything that you really wanted to. You took stuff that just was the first thing you saw.
Wildfires can move quickly and can change direction into a surrounding community without warning. With the assurance that your home is now well defended and your family's wildfire action plan in place, when a wildfire approaches, you're now ready to go. During a wildfire, emergency personnel may not be able to warn everybody, so it's up to you to take the initiative to stay informed by listening to the TV or radio for announcements. If an evacuation is imminent, it's time to set your wildfire action plan into motion. Don't wait to be ordered to leave your residence, just go, and go early. By leaving early, you give your family the best chance of surviving a wildfire.
Follow the directions of fire and law enforcement, and if you feel threatened, you need to go ahead and get out of that home. We have a lot of systems in place to notify you of that, but you have to be willing to get out and get out early.
Although wildfires can be unpredictable, destructive, and deadly, they're an undeniable part of California's wildland. Wildfire is coming, and it's the steps you take now that will ensure you, your family, and your home have a fighting chance when it happens. For more information on how to prepare for wildfires and for a wildfire action plan checklist, visit readyforwildfire.org.
We are here for a very short period of time. My goal is to make sure that the impact that I create, it's a good one for future generations. My name is Javier Zamora, and I am a farmer, and I own JSM Organics. We grow lots of strawberries, vegetables, and flowers, all organic. My farm is located in Monterey County, about 3.5 miles away from the coast. What makes this area really unique is our weather conditions. This is a strawberry land where Mother Nature allows us to grow these beautiful fruits. My ranch that I now own is a 200-acre ranch, and 120 of those acres are part of a conservation easement. If I didn't have a partner like the Alcorn Slough Foundation that put in the money to have an easement on my property, it would have been really difficult for me to own a piece of land. And what's a farmer with no land? It's like having a painter with no canvas. How do I manage a farm this size organically? We allow Mother Nature to do its thing, and we're not pushing things in a way that would jeopardize the flavor, because we don't use any chemicals. Conventional people would spray for those insects. We actually vacuum them. We have a vacuum that is mounted on a tractor, that it goes above the canopy of the strawberries, and it actually gives those bad beetles a ride for their money. About 2 years ago, I was approached by a packaging company. They had developed a new way of packaging strawberries or different vegetables with no plastic. Immediately I say, yes, this is it. My customers are going to be very happy with this. We don't need any more plastics to be dropped in the ocean or landfills. This is a beautiful package that you can go ahead and throw it in your compost pile, but it's definitely not going to be in the ocean. My philosophy about workforce is that people need to be happy and get paid well for what they're doing and what they're contributing to, in this case, the farm. I'm really happy to say that my employees get at least $2 to $3 more per hour than what some people around would pay them. So we have employees that are really happy, and we get people that are really eager to come and work for the farm. We can't think of, how sad the past was or why didn't I start farming immediately when I came to America. That's just the path that destiny had for me. Now that I own a farm and I can have lots of people being fed out of it, makes me extremely happy.
Fish in many California water bodies contain mercury at levels that can be harmful to human health if eaten.
Mama, what's that sign?
Oh, well, it looks like it's about fish in California lakes and reservoirs. So it looks like some fish are high in mercury and some fish are lower in mercury. Oh, here we go. Women 18 to 45 years, so that's me, and then kids, that's you. We can have less than older women and men, so Papa can have more fish than us.
What kind of fish can we eat?
Well, it looks like we can have more rainbow trout. That must be low in mercury. Oh, but you and I, we can't have any black bass, any carp, or any brown trout.
Papa brings us fish.
Yeah, he does. We should take a picture of this for him. Oh, and then look, there's a website we can go to for more information. That's good. All right, well, let's see if we can find some fish now.
The amount of fish you can safely eat depends on where you fish, what fish you eat, and who you are.
tea ritual looks like this. I prepare the hot water, I set the tone, and then I focus on preparing the brew appropriately, pouring the water appropriately, and drinking it in a relaxed and unhurried way so that I'm just creating kind of rhythm. I think tea has a lot to offer people in their daily lives. It has so many health properties, just in terms of the body, the antioxidants, vitamins, the amino acids, but especially just being present in the moment and using tea as a vehicle to practice that presence. So the products that I sell at the co-op are 3 varieties of tea. One is a white tea, one is a winter pick green tea, and one is a black tea. At the same time, we're developing our own tea that we're growing in the region and will eventually be available through the Jade Summit brand.
The coronaviruses are a family of viruses that we're familiar with. We know that they cause respiratory tract infection, and most people are going to be familiar with them from causing the common cold. That's a coronavirus, but they can cause more serious infections like SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome. We remember that from years ago. And then there's this new coronavirus, novel coronavirus, that currently originated in China. The original cases, it appeared that it was only transmitted maybe from animals to humans, but now it's clear that there's person-to-person transmission. And we've seen cases in healthcare workers who have not been with any animal contact, so we know the healthcare workers are getting it from taking care of patients, so we know there's person-to-person transmission. It starts off just like any other cold, so fever, cough, runny nose, overall feeling bad, and then it can progress and cause more severe illness, including pneumonia, and that can be fatal. The public health authorities have developed tests for this, and so anybody who is at risk for this present would be related to travelers or contacts of travelers to areas where we know that this is occurring. We encourage people their doctors, their healthcare providers, to report this to public health and get testing if indicated. Influenza is completely unrelated to coronavirus, so getting immunized against influenza will only protect you against influenza. There's no vaccine against coronavirus at the present time, and there's no specific therapy for the coronaviruses at the present time. Right now, all the therapy is supportive, meaning that if somebody has pneumonia, for example, then they might need extra oxygen or they might need to be on a ventilator, but no specific antiviral therapy. The only way people can protect themselves is to try not to be around sick people and to use respiratory etiquette. So people who are sick should be coughing into their arms. They should be washing their hands frequently. If you're sick, you should stay at home. If you're around sick people, try to get away from them. I know that's not always feasible. And then hand washing is always appropriate with soap and water or with the alcohol-based hand gels.
Hi there, I'm Katrina Schneider, and I'm a river scientist and river skills teacher, and I also love to play at the river. 12 years ago, started doing some camps that teach people what we call river literacy, how you can read the water so you can understand where it's awesome places to play, what the river's doing, but also you can find the really safe spots and you can basically read the water. So I'd love to give for you all the main gist of what we cover in those camps. The areas that we like, that we'll cover here right now, are to look, grip, and protect. The first concept of look. We are so blessed here at the Yuba. We have these incredible waters where you can see the bottom, you can see all around you. Incredible visibility, wonderful with a mask and snorkel. But it's super important when you're playing that you're actually looking for other things too. Wherever you are, whatever you're going to do, we all have different choices of what we do at the river. It's super important you scout first. So if you're tempted, you're one of those people who likes to jump off rocks, you should be in the water ahead of time with a mask and looking very carefully for any obstructions. If you're like me, who loves to go under large boulders and these beautiful, beautiful large openings underneath full of fish, then you also want to always look and make sure that it's totally clear. This river's very dynamic, changes a lot. And last year we had very high flows on the river that move large rocks and other obstructions that can end up being in our favorite play spots. So the best way to look and make sure you can be safe in those spots is looking from downstream up first. That way the current can't pull you into anything, and you can make sure everything's in the clear. Point number 2, grip. Again, beautiful granite rocks here. We love to lay on them. They're so soft, they're so nurturing, they're really wonderful. Guess what? They're also, of course, slippery. So when hopping from rock to rock, it can be quite easy to slip and lose your footing. And you might come into a place that actually has a very large hazard or just simply hurt yourself. It's also when we're following a buddy, they've gone before us and the rock gets wet. So when we jump, it's not the same jump that they did. It's super important as you're at the river, if you can move along, use 3 points of contact. Move yourself along as quickly as you need, but it's incredible how much it serves us for our stability. Every year, someone falls and gets seriously either injured or dies simply from slipping on rock. And a third concept, protect. So our bodies, they're bizarrely shaped. I mean, look at all these things coming out. They're just set to get snagged into things. And some of the places we're playing, or some of the places we might find ourselves, have some rocks that have really small openings, and we can easily get what's called entrapped. Even at low flows, it's very easy to get trapped. It's really quite bizarre. So what's important for us, if you find yourself in a situation where you have large moving water or rocks underneath that can have entrapments, you can't see them, it's super important you protect yourself. And what I mean by that is if you end up either accidentally or intentionally in one of those spots, ball up, get those limbs in. Don't be shoving those into rocks. Another very important part of protection is protect each other. Some people are pushing themselves to keep up with others and doing things that are not quite in their body. Some people you might see are just doing things that are just plain silly, that can harm themselves or harm others. Super important you carry forward to protect each other while at the river. So great. Thank you all so much for watching this video and loving and caring for the Yuba. And just remember these concepts next time you go down to the river. Just remember to look, grip, and protect, and enjoy yourself. Have a great time at the river and be safe.